So there's a lot of overlap in what you help people with and what I've helped people with, especially when someone's going into freelancing for the first time. There is a lot of networking involved. There is a need for connecting with people in the industry and being known and having the confidence to talk about what you do because you're a salesperson. And for somebody going into that for the first time, that can be pretty intimidating. Where would you kind of start with somebody who wants to start a business or wants to become more well known in the industry, but is just feeling very apprehensive about getting out there and talking to people?
Yeah, so I think first to really get yourself out there and become more confident about developing that good relationship with yourself first. So really challenging the way you're speaking to yourself on a daily basis. When you catch yourself speaking to yourself negatively, really accepting that emotion, not trying to push it away, but then challenging it. And because you're going to find it a lot more difficult to go into these new situations if you're speaking to yourself in such a negative way before you even go into them. Because even if it goes well, you do something well, you go to networking, start a business, it goes well. If you're speaking to yourself in a negative way, you're not going to believe that it went well. So it's really about getting the fundamentals first of speaking to yourself in a kind way, and then starting to plan out step by step, what you can do to move yourself forward. Even if it's just one small thing in the next week, it's going to allow you to step out your comfort zone. And each week it'll get easier from there.
So kind of breaking it down into more manageable chunks.
Yeah, definitely. And that's why I did, when I started my business, it seemed totally overwhelming in the beginning. I was really kind of reserved person, didn't like put myself out there, had no experience of being the center of attention, starting a business. I like to just be in the background. But it was really about saying, just this week I'm going to do these two small things. Maybe I'm going to create 2 posts, put them on social media. I'm going to go to just one networking event, and that's what I'll focus on for this week. And then the more you do the small tasks like that, then you can start building on from there.
Yeah, and I think it's about being kind to yourself as well, because if you are getting out of your comfort zone, that and it is going to be pretty uncomfortable and stressful and draining on you, especially if you're an introvert. Like I think a lot of people just expect themselves to be able to do it, and they're not really all that fair on themselves that it is a challenge at first, or even on an ongoing basis. I know I'm a massive extrovert. I love meeting people and talking to them, but even I get really exhausted from doing that if it's too much and I need time for myself. And like this afternoon, I was going to go to a networking thing online, and I just was like, nope, I'm not going to do it because I'm drained. Like I need time for myself. So how can people kind of tap into themselves a bit more as to what their capabilities might be? Like, how do you know if you're pushing too hard or if you're not pushing enough? Because that challenge has to be there if you want to grow and if you want to get better at it. But how do you know how much you can kind of, challenge yourself?
I suppose you never really know at the beginning until you actually give someone a go. But it's really important that in the beginning you don't tell yourself that you can't do something because you're a certain way. So for example, I'm an introvert, and I tell myself I can't record videos, I won't be able to do this. You need to be allowed to, you need to have a real great presence on video to be able to do it. So that stopped me from doing certain things in the beginning. So it's really about kind of going into it and saying it's not about being great or being the best at something. It's just about experimenting with different things. So for me, experimenting with posting out there, creating videos, and learning to do things in your own way. So for example, now I'm really confident at creating videos, but I do it in my own way. So I'm not, the most lively person or I still try and give a bit of energy, but I'm confident at doing it the way I want to do it now, rather than, everything else that you see online, people doing it one way. So it's about, you need to try first to see what you can do. And over time you'll realize what's maybe too much, what you don't like. And then you can focus on more what you like after you've experimented. As I said, now I'm really confident at posting online. I used to hate posting. I never really used to use social media much before my business. I had Facebook, I had Instagram, but I'd never really post on it, a couple of times a year or something like that. But I'd get, real anxiety even posting, changing my profile picture on Facebook. So on LinkedIn, when I first started posting, I really, I got so much anxiety from that. But all of that was for nothing really. All that anxiety was for nothing, but it was good because that built up that strength. And you may feel anxious in the beginning, but now it's just as easy as, going and making lunch or breakfast as posts online. You'd never expect that at the beginning. That's why it's so important to do it and then stay consistent with it and allow yourself room to grow.
Yeah, I think not many people talk about the apprehension or the anxiety that they feel when they first do start putting themselves out there. Like I definitely felt that, and it took me quite a long time to build up to being able to do it, even though I knew that I had the capability of doing it because I had a lot of ideas of things I could say and I'm a good writer. But the idea of actually publicly being out there for anyone to see was really scary. And I think that a lot of times people think that they're the only one that can't do it or believes that they can't do it and everybody else is fine. But in reality, I think when you strip it all back, everybody's just like you and I, in that it's something that they need to actively work on and overcome and become more comfortable with. It doesn't just happen overnight. And how long did it take you to kind of get to that point where you feel totally comfortable sharing pieces of yourself online?
I think it was a gradual process. So the first couple of weeks, really felt nervous doing it. And then you kind of go through these cycles of, you start off really anxious, and then once you realize it's okay, you start feeling great. But then, maybe if some of your posts don't do well, you start questioning yourself again. But then you get to a stage where you're just consistently doing it and you don't really care, like, if it gets a lot of likes, views, or if it doesn't. And you just get to this great stage of, I'm going to post, I'm proud of myself for posting, regardless of how well it does. So it's kind of up and down, but I'd say definitely, a couple of months in, I start getting a lot more confident. But you start getting confident after every post, after the first post, after second, third, and then, you by the end you get really confident at posting, and it won't be this big thing anymore.
Yeah, so it's more focusing on the process and the action that you're taking, and then recognizing that that is progress for you, irrespective of how it might work out, in terms of likes and comments and things like that. Well, my last question is there any kind of tips or tricks that you can give to people who are wanting to start to post regularly on LinkedIn, for their business because they're just starting out, feeling apprehensive? Like you mentioned that you would kind of post and then distract yourself for a while afterwards. Are there any other kind of practical things that people might do to just make that transition easier for themselves?
Yeah, so I would say maybe set yourself a goal of how many times you're going to post that week. So maybe even if it's just 2 posts that week, and then say, look, the next week I'm going to do 3, and then so it's starting off gradually and then increasing it from there. But in terms of actually posting, the best thing is to post, and to really just sit there and sit with that fear instead of trying to run away from it, because it's just going to come back even stronger. Just sit with it, understand it, that that's fear, that's just anxiety, and then speaking to yourself positively after that. Proud of myself for posting. I believe in myself, because that's the key, understanding that it is just fear, it is anxiety. It's normal to experience this, but also to see it in a positive way as well. And it's to be proud of yourself for posting, because a lot of people don't post and don't put themselves out there. So even just putting a post out there is an amazing thing.